Hello, hello, Patricia. Hello, Kay. Hello, Han. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I don't know where you are, so anything's possible. Hope you're okay. It's nice to see you again. Hi, Victor.
Hi, Milan.
Hello. Hello.
Really good to see you, ma'am.
Good to see you. You can call me Valerie.
Okay, Valerie.
So we're waiting for connection, synchronization with Facebook, because there was a connection to be made. Philip is here.
Good evening, everybody.
Or good morning.
Good morning,
us,
whatever,
but,
yeah, wherever you are.
Victor, where are you based?
I'm from Taiwan.
Taiwan. Okay, nice to meet you. And Aloke, where are you from?
I'm from India.
So you are based in India?
Yes.
Okay, how is it there?
It was fine until this pandemic.
Yeah. So you're hanging in there. Stuff, yeah. Hi, Carlos. Hi, Raimundo.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hi, good to see you.
Thanks, nice to see you too.
So I hope you are all fine. The topic of today is actually in strong relationship with the pandemic and all the remote situations that we've had to face wherever we are, for work, for personal relationships, and all the Zoom and video conferences that we keep running. I hope this one is more a distraction than a pain. At least we know you joined on your own will, so we assume that you're doing this for pleasure more than anything else. So that it's a real pleasure for us to be with you and to open up the discussion this week on how to manage remote workers, remote employees, all the questions around remote management and leadership. How to sustain motivation, how to maintain engagement, how to respect private life when people are working from home and having to sustain work at the same time. So all those questions that are around what we've been living for the past year, even over a year for some. It's an open question, as you know. The format of the talk is to give you the floor as much as possible and to give you an opportunity to exchange. We're just here as facilitators, Philip and I, and maybe sharing a few tips if you wish, but really mostly to give you the floor so you can share, you can discuss, open up, and have this Savoir-Relier mindset around you, genuine, generous, and generous. So sharing is really beneficial for all. So anyone who wants to lead the discussion and share, maybe to focus a little bit the discussion around what do you think is the strongest or the most important quality to have when you have to manage remotely, and along the same line, so the strongest quality and the biggest challenge maybe when you are in this situation where you have employees or you are managing people from a distance. So who wants to take the lead? Raise your hand or grab the mic and lead the way.
I have like these two groups where I used to work on a daily basis, and some of them are my employees. So I think with this group, I have to be very generous and to be aware of their needs and the way they are working from home, because conditions are very different from my own way of working. As most of them have kids at home, so they have to split between being fathers for a moment and being part of our team. And a new dynamic came along through all these months. So right now we are more used to see our kids, and we even say hello to them. And as you can see, I have my kid just next to me. He's at school right now, We're more used to see this as a normal way of doing things. And on the other hand, I have a group of people that we work together just because we want to do things, and there's no hierarchy between us. So we just gather to work as we are doing right now, just because we want to be here and we want to work. And that's somehow different because you have to be aware of the needs they have, and you have to meet the needs of everyone in the group, and that it's more like being aware of everyone else, and I think that's the most important thing I've learned in the last months about leadership: to be aware, be more aware of the needs everyone has, and to try to meet all the needs we have.
I guess you're muted.
Sorry. If you had to come up with one word of, and I will take Raimundo's example of, if I had to catch one word from what you said, I would say to be over tolerant. I mean, over not in a negative way, of course, to be even more tolerant than you can be. So tolerance and adaptability, so extra empathy so that you can adapt from one another. I mean, from the different perspectives that the people working with you are coming with because of their situation. For the others, if you had just one word or one or two words that come to your mind about what extra quality that you need in order to help keep up motivation of your employees working remotely, what would that word be? Maybe you can, that way everybody can say a word that way.
I don't have employees, but I have to always work with other people in teams, and I'm very reliant on them getting their work done. So I think one thing that has helped me immensely is relationship building, trust building, so that they know they can rely on me. And very often, if they find that is working, I will also get from them what I need. Where it gets troublesome is the people who don't pull on the same end of the rope. Yeah. And that's where you have to do more managing.
Yeah. So it's linked to the interdependence, and you do have extra reliability, higher level of trust and reliability. Thank you, Patricia. Other words that you may have?
One thing that I would like to share is, like, I'm a college student, and we basically all have teams, and we are given projects to do presentations like that. So it was beforehand, it used to happen like offline, but nowadays it happens online, obviously. And like, we have teams, and my team fortunately has a title of winner 2 times. So when the projects are given, like, the members from other teams, they want to manipulate us, but we stick on to the goal. Like, what is our main aim? Our main aim is to project the presentation very efficiently so that it becomes the winning project. So what we focus as a team is like the GPI system, like goal, priorities, and then initiatives, like that. So first we try to focus on the goal, and then we keep that project as our main priority. Mm-hmm. And along with that, we take the required initiative to do the project. Mm-hmm. And at the end, as the previous speaker said, that the relationship, it matters a lot. Like, we have all become friends nowadays. So apart from professional problems, if we even have some personal problems, we can share in this pandemic and feel free towards each other. Mm-hmm. Helps a lot.
So more open and sharing outside of the scope of work, and being very professional and clear goal minded when you set up common goals, so that there's clarity of where you want to go, each one of them.
Since nowadays there are some technological problems like no networks, as such. So we try to end the work much before the deadline, so that we don't face any problems at the ultimate moment.
So rigor and discipline, clearly. Anybody else wants to speak about those important qualities you need working remotely?
I think there's one thing that Alokparna said that's opposite for me. That she said that during this time, people share more about the personal story. And for me, it's almost the opposite. It's very hard for me to, without seeing the person, to understand what she might be feeling, or the emotions behind, or if something is wrong in the work or personal life. So it was very interesting. I don't know if you have a tip on how it comes into play. Is it during the work, or is it a special time for that? How?
Special time. And also while doing the work, but we always get aware like, okay, now we are diverting from the main topic, so we should get back to it as soon as possible.
Valerie, I would like to share my experience. I work here in Pau in France in the oil and gas industry, and then I work in the drilling area. And then when the pandemic happened, of course, we had to implement several things in order to have proper communication and support our teams around the world. So I would say that something that we did quickly was to set up meetings daily, every morning, but we didn't discuss about the work itself. We discussed about try to know each other, so try to improve the communications. And then we also, I would say that we set up rules, so that because when you are working, I would say, everyone from home, you try to work longer, So we try to set up and try to avoid meetings at specific times. And then we try to also set up meetings on Fridays, so that even we learn how to cook. We learn
Together,
yes, via teams, yes. So we are doing this actually because the work is very demanding, and we know that communication and support, I would say, they're pretty important, especially that people are away from families, even after 3 months, 4 months. So something that I would say, to properly lead a team and manage the team, I would say that communication is very important, but also supporting and be compassionate, I think is extremely important, because you involve families, you involve different behavior, personalities, different cultures, So I would say that this is something that we need to put in front, and when you try to manage remotely.
Yeah. Extra listening, extra communication, extra attention. It's like we're pushing all the cursors of, what is very important in interpersonal relationships. The question then is, when remote work is not as predominant as it is right now, will we continue having all those good practices that we are developing to compensate for the lack of physical interpersonal connections, and take the benefits? Because there is a positive side in spending more time knowing one another, sharing more, being better listeners, and being outside of the just work relationship. So it will be interesting to see when work habits are back to almost normal, although we don't know if it's ever going to be back to normal, if the experience that we lived through the pandemic will bring an added value in interpersonal relationships at large when we work face to face. So it's an interesting question what you're bringing up in terms of all those push qualities of what we think with the Savoir-Relier as being, the genuine, engaged, generous, generative together, this these are fundamental qualities that we push for the relational leader. At the same time, they're not the traditional leader, because we know that in day-to-day, it's not traditional leadership, or transactional leadership, for example, is not on the basis of these principles. But everything you describe, what you just said, Carlos, or what Aloke said before, those are very important qualities that you seem to be developing because of the context of the pandemic. So let's hope that it can be sustainable and remain even when we go back to face-to-face meetings. Yeah, not so easy.
Well, a habit takes 21 days, right?
Yep.
It should be okay by now.
It should be okay by now. Yeah, we've had our share of 21 days repeated over and over.
I'd like just to ask one question to you guys. There was mentioned a couple of times the question of trust. The fact that if you are remote, then you have to trust people more, because basically you're not on their back and you're present, and therefore you have to trust that they're going to do the job. Do you think that you've learned to trust people differently? So in other words, have you experienced possibility to trust more the people that we've been working with? You've been competing back of presence. In other words, have you discovered something about trust in working remotely with people?
Yeah. I think trust builds as part of the relationship. So if you have day-to-day direct interactions in person, it develops in a little bit different way, because you might just stop by and say hi, you go to lunch together. There are things you learn, you talk about problems that occur during work. If you're only sitting at home, that part is missing. So I have tried for my part, when new people join us, that I basically reach out right away on the first day, just to get a face-to-face with them, to say, hey, welcome on board. I'm so-and-so, I do this and that. And, I'm probably going to work quite a bit with you together. So feel free to reach out anytime. There are no stupid questions, nothing. So that kind of sets, people normally don't do this. When I started at this company where I'm working right now, also at former companies, the others, everybody's so busy with themselves, they're not reaching out. And I always thought that is a very important thing, because it makes them feel a little bit more being part of it. So for me, that relationship building is very important. And in one of my former companies, I was working globally, and I found that I had my in-country people all over. And it was interesting, because when I talked to other people in my group here in the States, they all said they had troubles getting things from those other country specialists. And I said, I don't understand this. I mean, I need something, I tell them I get it, but they also know they need something, they tell me they get it. Mm-hmm. So that it's a relationship, but it's also a trust level. They know they can trust me. I give them what they need, and I know I can trust them to get what I need.
Mm-hmm. So the building of a interpersonal relationship on a one-on-one level is a critical point in what you say, which reflects actually the fact that that in our approach, after you have done your work on yourself, introspection, then there's this duo exercise that does connect you one-on-one with a deep level of interaction. We do believe, Patricia, that what you're saying reflects this absolutely paramount experience that gives you a level of understanding of one another that is beyond work, beyond anything, and replaces a lot of the sometimes futile efforts that you can make trying to know people like from the surface. Meaning that a lot of times you think you're going to know people by going out to the bar and having a drink and and talking about this and that, but the reality of the one-on-one interaction is what really creates that bond that you need, so that you build that interpersonal trust. The other point in what you said that I think is very important to note is the level of reciprocity that you're pointing to. The fact that they know they can count on you, you know you can count on them, and there is that reciprocity, which also the duo points to, that there is no higher hierarchy or higher level in one another. You even up the relationship when you do a duo, because you exchange your solo, so you've done your work on yourself, you swap, and you create that equal footing of relationship. And that's the start of building trust, creating the conditions for people to interact. And then you can build, and then you can create situations like Carlos was saying, where, okay, we're going to cook together, so we're going to discover each other in a different setting and discover aspects of one another in a different light. But the fundamental step that we believe is absolutely necessary to build trust is having and taking the time for this one-on-one interaction. And if you manage to do that with your teams, and it may take a while if you have a large team, or if you expand, or you have new teams, new people coming in, but it's really worth giving it your time and the time of the others, because then you are really building that solid communication, fluid interaction, and respect of one another that will allow you to build. I mean, to build from and to build together. So I think it's very, very important that you keep that in mind. Trust depends on your capacity to have this one-on-one interaction.
I think there is another point that's very important that I noticed is you need to see the person as a person, not just as somebody who needs to get his deliverables to you. So when you hear from somebody else, oh, they had a baby in the family, or whatever it is, show genuine interest in the person as a person, not just in the work that he's going to do for you.
Yeah. As a human being, for the human being he or she is, and not for what he can do or deliver or technically bring to the table, or because that's beyond the point. The human being that's in front of you, that is with you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I completely agree and join you on this one, because what is also a bit special in the context we are living in and working in now is that we have to perform as a group, as a team, sometimes with new members, because with the COVID crisis, some of us had to onboard also people in our teams, and in this context, you don't always know also the context in which people are living, and it's evolving because of the situation. So that's why you were talking about listening before, and I do believe that yes, it's very important to listen and just not to be always focused on what we need to do to perform as part of the mission. Now, what we have learned also is that it goes outside of it. It's much larger than this. It's also linked to the context of people and what we have to do, and sometimes how we can be impacted also in our personal life. And this is changing the way we have to work together. And trust, maybe in a case, found its place, also a new place in the relation of work. Will it last? Good question. Let's hope so. But then, it's at least what I've seen in my context is that yes, trust and the fact to listen also differently to the different team members is something that is really important, because can also make us understand that the situation is not is very different depending on the countries, depending on the personal situation, and we have to be open to that.
Open and willing to give it the time, because the one thing that we hear over and over, oh, but I don't have time for this, oh, I have to go to the next meeting and run, and setting the time for this quality interaction, which requires the time. If you don't spend the hour and 30 minutes of the duo, you cannot engage in a duo. You don't have this, you don't deliver the quality of listening and speaking and exchanging that you need. You need that time, and you have to make that time. You have to monitor that time, to set it aside, to create those conditions. And that's absolutely your responsibility to do that, because if you trigger this and you manage to convince the others to give you the same time, it's like a gift you're sharing with one another, and the benefits is so huge that you know afterwards that it's worth it. But on the day-to-day job and with all the pressure that we have, we don't commit. We have a hard time saying, okay, I'm going to take this hour and a half and do just that, exchange with one person. Because I know then that what it's going to bring to me, and it's not because there is intention of getting anything out of it, but because you know that this quality is absolutely necessary to build trust. And without it, you will not build trust, at least not lasting trust.
I like to think of it as a bank. And so you're putting the money, you're just like now, like, oh, I could buy, my clothes, I could buy coffee right now, but I need it when I retire. And so like, I'm going to need something from Sally, 5 days from now, a month from now. So I need to put money in that emotional bank with me and Sally to build that trust. And then I'll be able to cash in, and then Sally's putting money into me as well. So I like to think about that as well.
Mhm.
That's nice. It's I love the investment part. I wouldn't feel comfortable thinking about cash because of the transactional aspect of it. But I like it. It's almost opposite of the mindset, but at the same time it works, because it is definitely the investment you want to put in, and as long as the investment is reciprocal, that it's two ways, then it's a shared investment, and then you can build together. Yeah, that's a nice analogy. I wouldn't have thought of it.
Very definitely. I had many years ago, I had to take over a project from another person. And that marketing person on that project, I heard, was very difficult to deal with, and she was always contrary and everything. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I set up a lunch meeting with her. We are going to work together. Let's get to meet, just have lunch together. And it was amazing what this hour just did, because we worked together so well. It was awesome. And I think that's what it's all about. Work is so much more fun if it clicks between the people and you work well together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Something I would like to add, if I may, just to answer the questions that was raised, is that I feel that managers really know what the trust word means, but the pandemic has, I would say, that's helping to when they try to let's say when a person is coming and the manager try to build a setup of steps before giving the opportunity, because they need to be sure that this person will perform a specific task. So pandemic just like make the manager to jump to trust without this, I would say, without this list of considerations that they have in their mind. So I think that now managers learn that they don't need to have this kind of setup, like a kind of listing to say that I will start trusting this person to perform this one. Under a specific, I would say, scenario, and look at in detail, etc. I think that the pandemic taught them that it can be done, It can be taken without following those steps, I would say.
Very good. Yeah.
Positive for managers, I would say.
Yeah, it rings a bell because it makes me think about the fact that when you talk about trust out of the blue, people think, oh, it takes years to trust someone. You think trust, and in friendship, then you to get a friend and long-lasting friend, it's going to take years and years to start trusting someone. And in reality, when we practice the Savoir-Relier, we find that with one duo, someone you've never met, you don't know, you just do the 1 hour and a half, and something happens that is very close to not trust as a friendship that's built over years, but very, very strong and powerful. At least that the feedback that we get from those duos is very close to, oh, I've shared something with that person I didn't know so much that there are even things that I said I never said to anyone else, even my best friend. So the question of trust is embedded into a kind of myth of you need years to trust someone, but with practice you realize that trust can come in other ways and can be very strong too, as long as you give it a go, as you are sincere, as you are engaged and open and listening, and you give the other person a chance, as Patricia was saying, at the human level, barely human level, with, you know, without the intention of what is this person going to bring to me. Just, we're going to be together, we're going to work together, we're going to spend time together. We're better off trusting one another because we're going to be more efficient together if we do so. And that's the point, that you can build trust by dedicating your time and energy, very well organized, very well structured, and then you can build from there. So that's true, that the pandemic and the remote situation we've been facing, à la force des choses, because we were forced to it, we had no choice, probably accelerated this movement. Now, again, let's hope, and can only hope, because we're not beyond the pandemic, but let's hope that we will keep something from this experience. At least we've suffered enough. We need to benefits, right? Ella, you want to bring the session to a close, because I see it's already 7. Oh, we can't hear you. Your microphone's not on.
Yes, yes. I would like to finish the session maybe with a question for everybody. You can answer by speaking or in the chat. Is how long do you spend on quality building relationship in your team by week during the pandemic? So how many hours or days do you spend building the connections with your team members?
So you
like I spend at least half an hour every day with my team members to build that type of relationship. And of course, trust apart from time also depends on experiencing a particular person. So like once it happened with me, like there was a particular work and it was like the final round, and like the timer was on and some member said like I'm not ready with my work. I didn't do my work, so I made sure that the final work didn't get affected, and like we could successfully manage it.
Probably it's about 2 hours to 3 hours a week. Mostly it happens when I have work meetings set up with individuals, that there's always a part of the time.
Oops, we have an overlap.
Yeah.
I just mentioned it. It's okay. So you said 2-3 hours a week during.
Yeah, usually during one-on-one meetings that I have with people where we have activities or where we work on something together. I usually take some of the time where I really try to focus on that person. We talk about whatever, how we are doing, what's going on in our lives, just to have a one-on-one.
Yeah.
And either in the beginning or in the end, depending how it develops.
Okay. We have also Raimundo who said 10 minutes in long meetings to talk about how things are at home.
Yeah.
And sometimes special meetings to do that. And Carlos, 4 hours per week. In our case, better together. It's a very nice.
That's a nice one. Yeah.
Okay.
It's also the check-in, that check-in tip that you can do on a systematic basis to make sure that it's inclusive, that everybody feels a part of the meeting and has a chance to share what's on his or her mind, so that you can leave it behind and focus on the meeting during the meeting, but at the same time people are aware of what's going on. It can be mood, it can be something happening in your life, and it gives a chance to know where everybody stands at a given time, and then to focus on the meeting, and then to realize that everybody's in a part of the meeting. So check in, check out, all those are very important.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I'll put everything and the check-in, check-out also on the email. So as always, you receive the email 1, maybe 2 weeks from now. And thank you, everybody.
We'll post some references also. We've dug a few articles from HBR and other places that give you a few tips on how to maybe in some inspiration, things you already do, but things that some professors have put together as ideas. And Francesco, thank you very much for relaying all of this on LinkedIn and being with us this evening. Thank you all for participating. It's always a pleasure to be with you on the second Friday of every month. Thank you. We'll send you ideas for the next topic. And we had talked about burnout as one very important topic we've been working on. And stay tuned because we'll also post a few announcements of new things coming up with the Savoir-Relier. So looking forward. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.